Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Pharmaverse themed Shiny Gatherings. I'm excited to introduce two fantastic guests today. We have Nina, a principal data scientist at Genetech. She's currently the product owner of the Nest packages, which also includes Teal. Nina ensures that all our users benefit from the development efforts, helping to make Teal a powerful and user friendly resource for the community. Next, we have Donnie, who's also a principal data scientist at Genetech. Donnie has worn many hats throughout his career, working with both SAS and R. Over the past decade, he has not only witnessed the industry's evolution, he's also helped in shaping it. Currently, Donnie leads the core development team for the Nest packages, driving innovation and progress. Both Nina and Donnie are active in the community, frequently sharing their expertise of Teal and open source packages at conferences like RN Pharma, JSM, Fuse Connect, and even ShinyConf, just to name a few. Welcome.
Thank you, Bella. Thanks, everyone. I see the virtual cheer. Today, let me share my screen. now. S- can people see the slideshow now, or just in Google?
Yeah, they can.
So it's the slideshow mode, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thanks everyone for the invitation, and it's great to present here at the Shiny Gatherings. So today, Donnie and I were going to be giving some introduction as well as some demos regarding how to use teal and how to build clinical analysis apps with teal. So teal is a product that has been developed within Roche and Tech in the past few years. And it's open source. And as a scalable R Shiny based framework, TO can help unlock the power of interactive data exploration. We started with clinical trials, and now it can go beyond clinical trials in order to accelerate our insights generation. And today I'm going to be giving a quick introduction of teal framework as well as the tealverse product map. And then I'm going to turn it to Donnie for some demo workshop on how to create teal apps, especially how to create your customized analyses with teal framework. And then we're going to be wrap up with some updates that's what's happening with teal right now, and then sharing some additional resources. As mentioned, Teal is open source and it's R-based Shiny framework that can enable data exploration. We utilize this modularized and standardized building blocks with a collection of R's packages with different specializations. And together with all of these tools available, it will help us streamline the creation of Shiny apps, and that offers some special characteristics that, for example, we enable dynamic filtering facility, and we enable code reproducibility, and as well as report engine and many data built-in and ready to plug in sort of data summarizations and visualizations available. And this is an anatomy of how a teal app looks, in case any of the audience here hasn't used teal before. So we usually have a header on the top, and this is decided by the app developer. And then the app developer can also start with menus with different tabs. And then on the left, we have a reporter where the users can add a report to the reporter and then download the report for the analysis that you're interested in. And then on the majority of the left is the encoding panel, which is the Shiny component where the app users can choose whatever flexibilities that was provided within the teal module. And for example, what variables do you want to summarize for a certain analysis? And then we have the debugging and reproducibility featured down below, where if the user see a very interesting analysis, the user can then show the R code that generated analysis, and then utilize the show R code feature to reproduce exactly what happened within the app. And also in the middle is our output panel, where of course, it displays the output within the teal app. And then on the right is our one of our most beloved features for teal on the filter panel, where the app user, the app developer can predefine some filters, and app users also has the flexibility on top of the predefined filters to add all of to slice and dice the data as needed on the right filter panel. And there's a footer if the user needs. And with teal, we have sort of like a tealverse product map. So in the very middle is the calculation is done by a series of packages for the static calculation. And then teal module packages are the ones that add in the interactivity and the Shiny component on top of what's being calculated. And then the most outside, basically, the teal framework are provided by the core teal packages. So, for example, teal for the overall framework, and there are other specialized packages for different purposes. For example, teal slice for the filtering panel, and the teal reporter for the reporting, and then like teal widgets for the Shiny components, and etc. So given the interest of time, so I will pass it to Donnie, and then Donnie is going to be providing a demo workshop about creating teal.
All right, thanks, Nina. Can you guys still hear me okay? Good?
Yeah.
Yep. All right, let me start sharing my entire screen. I just want to take a moment just to say thank you again to Epsilon for providing this platform. Thanks for allowing us to share more news about teal. I'm very excited about today. So my goal today is having users understand on how to create custom module. I prep some good materials for you guys to follow along with me. You don't have to type your code. Just grab your coffee and look what I'm doing. And I kind of do this in a format where I have some template code to start, and as I progress, I will share with you my train of thought. The idea is that you can use this template code so that you can try it out yourself after this presentation. And if you need to see the complete code, you can come to the folders, the answer folders here. So all of this is on GitHub. It's under Pharmaverse organization. It's public. You can clone it after this presentation. But for now, just sit back, relax, and see how I do this. So I'm sharing my entire screen, so I cannot see people's comment. So maybe I'll just address that later on. But maybe Veda, can you confirm if the code looks okay, or should I maybe a bit bigger? Is that looks fine to you?
I think it looks good.
Okay, good. All right, let's get started. So this is, there are a couple things that I'm going to go over today. As I said before, my goal is to make people understand how to write a custom teal module. But to be mindful for those who hasn't seen a teal app before, this is basically a Shiny app, but we provide a lot of different features and abilities for doing analysis, exploratory analysis. What you see here is a very simple code on how to make a teal app. And I'm popping open a documentation on what we call it init function, which is the most important function if you write a Shiny, a teal app. So within this function, let me go back again. Within this function, we have a couple required arguments. We have a data and modules, and that's to the most important part, required arguments. So the data pretty much asking you to provide a data objects to your teal apps, And the modules is to provide what we call a teal modules. And we'll talk about that, and we will create that soon on this presentation. All right. So that's the three elements. We have an init, we have data, we have modules. We need all three of them. So in order to make data, if you can see the documentation here, it needs a specific object, what we call a teal data object. I'm not going to touch the teal data module for now. We'll focus on the teal data first. So in order to make teal data is very simple. You just have to provide kind of like a name value pairs within the first elliptic argument here. So you can provide as many as you want. And then the rest is just optional if you want to provide some join keys. And this join keys will affect later. And if you want to merge your data sets or more advanced writing custom teal module. So I won't cover that today. But let me show you what it looks like. If I run a teal data function here, I'm just calling our very famous data set, iris empty cars. But now if I want to use it in my teal app, I'm going to call it something else. I'll call it my iris and my empty cars, right? So if I run this and I just take a look at it again, it'll say that, yeah, this is a teal data object. Okay, so my teal data object is done. Now we need a module, a teal data module. I'm pulling this example module from the tailor package. This is something that we use a lot, and it's just providing a very simple modules for us to test things around. So let's see what this looks like. All right, so we got some info here. We got some output on the middle. We can choose a data set. We can switch between the two data sets. There's some additional functionality here. We can see what is the code needed to generate the output. We can add filters here and there. And that's great, right? I mean, it's only less than, I don't know, 20, 15 lines of code. You get all of this functionality within your Shiny app. So this is what we call a teal app, a very basic teal app by all means. Okay, so that's a good starter. Now, if you want to do, if you want to try out with clinical data, which the most common one we use this data format called the Atom data set. We also have some example data sets for you to try, and which what I will be using for the rest of this workshop. This is straight from our teal data. Our package is an example data. All of them are fake. So you can use this to see what it looks like. And again, it's just a matter of providing the right data set. But if you notice, this time I'm using what I call CDIS data. So if we open the documentation for CDIS data, this is actually just a wrapper around teal data. So it's the same, it's returning the same object. It's still going to return teal data object, but we do provide a lot of convenient values here. Like we try to predict the default join keys, for example, because as you know, see this Atom data set or SCTM data sets, they're quite standard. And so we kind of know already what's the primary key and foreign key if you want to do some joining between them. So if I run this again, then you'll get the same result. It's just a matter of a different, now I call it ADSLDAE, and you see a different output. Yeah, this is like a straight output. It's not even a data table. So we'll learn more about that. All right, so let me move on to the next code here. Here I'm using a pre-built teal modules. And so this is a more formal kind of standard layout of what we believe some of the analysis module would look like. I'm not going to go through on how to create it. This is a code that I used on my past presentation. Here we're adding 3 modules. All of this TMT summary, TMT events, the graph Kaplan-Meier plot. This is all come from teal modules clinical. And as you can see here, I'm also using some example data set from the package. The one thing that you may see different is the argument here called the filter. So here we have some filter argument being defined. It takes what we call a teal slices object. It really is the way that for app developer to define a predefined filters for their modules. It could be global, but in this case, we can have it as a module specific, which means every module will have a different set of filters applied to them. But if you also need to have some filters to be applied globally, you can also pass a global filters name value pair here in the mapping argument, and yeah, then you get a global filters. So let me run this just to give you a sense of what it looks like of a more, sort of called close to complete version of a teal app that you do for your analysis. So you got this, you got a couple features that you see here. We still have the show our code features, but now we have what we call the reporter features. And this is something that we offer in order for your stakeholder to create a report if they like what they see. So I'll demonstrate that in a second here. So if I go on to a different, what we call this teal modules or modules, and then we'll see a different output being presented here. And this is for our Kaplan-Meier plot. And say if you want to look on a different endpoint, for example, then let me wait until this. Okay, here we go. And this is perfect for exploratory analysis, right? You can quickly change your endpoint and see what happens. Here we have a lot of different filter settings being set up for different modules. You can see that changes. And you can also see this is also a different modules, different filters being applied. If you like what you're seeing, for example, the Kaplan-Meier plot, there's a feature here for a reporter. And again, nothing that you need to do here. You just need to call the function, and then all of these features will be provided in your teal app. So, and this is what app developer would do. They would call the teal modules functions. They provide the argument, and that's it. The rest is just work. And so here, this is the teal reporter. If you like this, and you can build more than one card, and you can set your report format, and you can download the report, and it'll give you all these assets in a markdown, in an R markdown format. Or if you have a visualization like this, or if you have a table, it'll give you either PNG or RDS object. Okay, so this is a more complete look of a teal app. All right, now we get to the fun part. Let's build a custom teal module. So here's some notes that I have for myself. So we're going to create a custom teal module, and this is going to be a very simple one. We're going to still selecting a different data set, but this time we're just going to show a legit data table output. And you've probably seen this on our teal module packages as well. But let's create it from scratch so we can learn it together. Teal framework is built upon Shiny modules. So there's element of Shiny modules that being applied here. So let me just, I'll make a snippet just for the sake of, to make this easier. So this is the first two part, right? In Shiny module, you provide UI and server, right? And then you put a namespace on the ID to make sure that it's not conflicting when you call the modules. And then in the Teal module server, you do module server ID and then function input output session, right? Very, very similar to how you would write a Shiny module programming, right? But I'll go through a couple different things here. And then once you're done with defining UI and server, the only difference is you have to call it within module function here. So this module function is actually coming from our Teal R package. So this is how Teal will consume your UI and server and create a Teal module. Okay, so it's very simple. It's just you provide UI and server, and then you include that UI and server function when you call the module function from Teal, and that is it. This is all the basic necessary thing for you to do to create Teal modules. Okay, let me make this easier. So I'm gonna do we'll do hello world, right? And there's nothing on the server. So now that we have defined, or maybe I call this example module, custom module, my custom Teal module. Now that we have defined our custom Teal module, we're gonna call it into our Teal app. And if you recall from the Teal app, it'll go like this. Oops, come on, there you go. I don't need to load library again. It's like so. Okay, So instead of example module now, I'm going to call my custom module, right? And I will provide the default value for my label. So this is going to be the name of the tab for your module. You can rename it if you want, but I don't want to rename it. Okay, so the last thing to do what we want is just the data. I'm going to use the same data that I use here, like so. Then I'm just going to provide some code so that I can, so the teal data has the ingredient sort of call to reproduce this inside my teal data object. And this is going to be very important in our later stage here, and I'll show you in a second. All right, so if I run this, oops, maybe you got to remove that. And let me restart my R session again. Here we go. Let me run this. All right, here we go. So we have made a custom teal module. It does nothing, but it's working. It provides some output, and it works. It works with the framework. So that's a good sign. And so let's build upon this a little bit more, right? So what we're going to do? So we're going to do some ability for user to select data sets. And then as they select the data set, we're just going to present some data table output. So let's do that. So that means we need some input statement. So we're going to do select input, right? Input ID is going to be, let's say, data sets. And we're going to say the label is going to be data sets. Now, the choices is going to be null. Why is it null? Because we want to, we don't want to hard code the data set that's coming into our module. So we're going to pull this out of the teal data object. Okay, so we leave it as null, and then we're going to do some update select input later in our server. All right, actually, maybe I'll wrap this into tags div as well. And then I'll just put it right here inside. There you go. All right, so what else do we need? So after we need the input, we need the output, the data table output. And I think Shani recommend us to do data table output like so. And then this is, we can just call it table like so. Okay, so that's done. And let's take a look. Right. Yep, that's nothing yet, but it looks like the inbox inputs selected was there. So let's add some more logic to the server. So what we're going to do with the select input of the data sets. Oh, by the way, yeah, don't forget to always wrap this into namespace, because that's how Shiny module works. All right, so we're going to update the select input, right? So we're going to update which one are we going to update, which is the data sets. And we're going to update the choices. Okay, so before we add anything here, notice how in a teal module server, I have a new argument here called data. So this is very important. You always have to bring the data in when you write your custom teal module. The data that's coming in here is going to be a reactive teal data object, right? So we have a data right here. So in a reactive context, we want to always wrap it into like a function like so. We call it like a function. So this is very important for you to know that when you pass the data here, call it again in a function format. All right, so the choices here, what we're going to do is actually, it needs to list all the data sets in the teal data objects. And to do so, we actually have a function called data names data like this. And the only reason you're able to see this without in reactive context is because I'm loading this in my environment, right? But later, as you use this, you have to call it within a function, like a function. So you can see here, using the data names method here, we can call the list of the data sets, the names of the data sets in the teal data object. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Data names, like so. Okay. All right, so let's test that again. There you go. We get some data sets. Great. What else we need to do? We want to display the output. So I'm going to say output table. We're going to do render data table, and it's going to be an expression. So we have a teal data object. So how do we pull this object from the teal data object? There's two ways for you to do this. One, you can use our one of our method for this teal data object called get var. Sorry. So a get var is for you. I got to call it from teal code, but get var, you can call the data object like so, and then you're gonna call the ADAE, for example. Then you got the data frames. But I like the shorthand way to do this, which is using double brackets. So that's what I'm going to do. It's going to render data, and then again, this has to be called in a function. But this one, we're not going to hard code it. We're going to call input data sets like so. All right, super easy. Let's run this again. There you go. So that's working. And I like data table because it's also provide all of this, the search box, pagination, sorting. This is good. So we can change between the two. Perfect. We can steal filters. Yep. Observation number got updated. Good. All right. So oh, there's some error message here, invalid first argument, and you probably seen this a lot as you write your Shiny code, right? And this is because sometimes the reactivities happens really fast, and you just have to put some requirement. We'll fix this on the next one. So that's creating a very simple custom module for data. We're just showing data tables. So let's take it to the next step. How about we add plots? Let's add plots. So what we're gonna do, this is another built-in. I open a new one, number 4. So we're just gonna reuse what we built so far, and we're gonna change some code here. Instead of showing table, we're gonna show plot. Okay. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna use our ggplot2 library, which is what I have loaded already. So in addition to selecting data set, I want my stakeholder to also able to select variables. So the goal is we want to make a histogram to see the frequency of distribution on continuous variable. And normally this is going to be in numeric data type. So I'm going to create additional two things. I want to create, once they pick a data set, they can pick a variables. And this has to be just numerical variables. And then I want to control the bin width. So if I want to see a more defined distribution, then I can just make the bin width a lot smaller. And then I'll change the output into a render plot as opposed to data table. Okay, we got a couple things to do. The simplest one is going to be the first one to select input here. So instead of data sets, let's call it variables. And this one, we also call it variables like so. Okay. So notice how it stays null, right? Because depending on what data set is selected, we want to update our input to react to that. Then the next one, I'm going to do slider input. So that's for controlling our bin. Input ID will be, let's call it bin width. And there's going to be a label called bin width. Then we have value. Maybe for start, I'll set it to 2. There's going to be min of 0 or maybe 1, and then max to 5. And then how about step? It's going to be 0.5, like that. Okay, so all inputs are in. Then I want the output. So the output is going to be plot output is, I'll call it PLT. Great. So So that's done. And we can, I always like to double check just to make sure that things are progressing correctly in the UI before I move on to the server side. So yeah, that looks good. We still have the server to select the different data set. Nothing in variable, but the bin width looks okay. All right, so far so good. Now let's write our server code here. All right, so the variables. So the variables depends on the data set. So the data set has to be selected first before you can select variables, right? So obviously there's going to be observe event, right? We're going to look into input data set. If it's changing, then we'll do something. If it's changing, then we're going to do another update select input, but this time we're going to do it on variables, right? However, if you recall our data, and this is how we call a data set, right? We use the shorthand bracket to the teal data object. Then if it's return a table here or a data frame, then it's really easy to just call the column names, right? We can just do that and it will return the whole columns. Okay, then we'll grab that. We'll pass it here. So this is how we're going to return. And yeah, then they'll just change that into reactive. And then this one has to be input data sets, right? But however, we want to make sure that we only pull numeric variables. So let me do that, but only numeric. So it's going to be an as apply. So we're going to just run is numeric function across the data set, right? So you can do it like this. Is numeric, like so. So this will return a vector, true and false, and then we'll just use this as a subset of our names. Okay. Let me run this and let's see if that works. Perfect. So there's some variables here. If I change to the AE, yep, we got more variables there. And everything else still works. Good. So far, so good. Now, let's create our plot. So in order to make plot, what we need to do is we need to reuse our data, teal data object. And this is why when I said earlier how important it is to kind of understand the teal data object. So the teal data object, it's both an environment and a store code for your analysis. So what we need to do is we need to extend the teal data object to create a new one while still including whatever we have so far. To do this, we have to make a new variable, and it has to be in a reactive context, right? Like I said before, the data here needs to be a reactive teal data object. Okay, so now we have to make a reactive object, and this is going to be a reactive teal data object. So what are we going to do here? There are a couple ways for you to extend the teal data object. And for this, I'm going to open a documentation called qenv. You may not know this, but teal data object is actually built upon this object that we store in teal code. And it's okay for you for not knowing, because I think once you see the documentation on teal data object, you'll see a lot of inherited method as well. So two ways that you can do this. You can either do it in eval code, or my favorite is actually using within. And the reason I like this using within is just very straightforward, so that I could inject, let me go down here. I can inject values to the code. And this is very useful because we want to inject our input selection in our Shiny session to the code, right? So to do that, you just call within, and then you pass the teal data object or the qenv object, and then you provide the code for you to extend the sort of the code or the ingredient in your teal data object. All right, so that's what we're going to do. This is exactly what I'm going to implement, this line right here. So I'm going to do within, right? So the first one is going to be, I'm going to reuse the data object. So this is the same original data reactive teal data object that we used so far. and then it's going to be an expression. So here, this is where I'm going to add my plot. It's just for simplicity. I already saved this plot code, so I'm going to copy that and paste it here. I'm going to uncomment. Okay, so a couple things we see here, right? That's not known, that's not known, and that's not known. So that's what we're going to inject the values to, and this is why I like the within statement. All right, so you can inject as many as you want, because in within statement, the last argument is an ellipsis, right? So you can put as many as you want. So what do I want? I want to replace this. I want to replace this. I'll just put that for now. I'm going to replace that because this has to be from the input variables, and the input bin width, I'm going to replace that too. Oops, come on. Like so. Now the input bin width is quite straightforward. This is going to be directly the bin width, right? But the data set and vars, if I write it like this, guess what? This will return a character, and we don't want a character value here. We actually want the object itself. So this is where we're going to use the base function, and you'll see this a lot in the teal modules code in our teal modules clinical or teal modules general. We use this technique. So we're gonna use as.name to refer by the as the name of the object itself. So I'm going to do this, and I'll do the same with input variables. Okay. All right. So far, all we did is we create a new reactive teal data object. We call it result now. And just to be sure that it's the reactive returning the teal data object, I'm just going to do that. So it's returning result is what we want to move forward from this point forward when we make our plot. So now that we make a new teal data object with our ggplot code, let's call it out. Let's call the plot in the output. So I'm going to do output. Just going to be plt shiny render plot plot. Okay, it's going to be an expression, right? So if you recall, if you want to call the data or whatever object in our teal data object, we can do this shorthand. So I'm going to do the same shorthand again, right? This is going to be a shorthand like so. But remember, we're not using data anymore. We already have a new teal data object here. So this is going to be a result. It's going to be in a function way. And this is not going to be ADAE, but I'm going to hard code it this time because I know I name my plot. So it's going to be my plot like so. All right, so let's run this. There you go. And we're going to address that error message in a second here. So here we have some plot. If I change the bin width, I'll make this a bit bigger. Yep, that changes. So it's reacting. So if I click ADAE, yep, that's also reacting. Right. So if I put filters on ADAE, and it's always a good practice just to try it out, make sure everything still works fine. Yep, that's reactive as well. Good. So everything is working. Now, yeah, let's address that error message. I just refreshed this, and you see here that one right there. Again, it's just because the reactivity just happened so fast, and now we get all this error message. It was trying to run this code even though the input data set either null or empty or something. So let's just control that a little bit. So we're just going to put a required statement here. So it needs to have some value on our input data set, and then we also need to control the variables that coming in, but well, let's just make sure the variables that coming in is actually part of the column name on the selected data set. So I'll just do it this way. All right, so now we run this again. Great, we don't see that error message anymore. And then, oh, there's that one. Oh, that one I'm going to put it right here. So again, I'm going to repeat this into this one. So what happened was when input data set was loaded and it was still null, it's trying to run this line. So we don't want that. We only want this to be run if there's an actual value on input data set. So let me run this again. So hopefully we won't see any error after this. Okay, yeah, that still looks good. And we no longer have error. Great, so we have completed. This is the second creating a teal custom module for your plot. And yes, it's very important if you understand the steps. And I hope by me talking this out loud, you understand my train of thought, and then hopefully you can apply it to yourself as well as you try to create your custom teal modules. All right, so let's go to the next couple ones. So we still have 3 more to go. Now, I'm gonna showcase the features of show R code. So let's look at our data object again, right? So this is our teal data object. And like I said before, this is both an environment and to store your code, right? How do I pull this code? So if you call get code on the teal data object, then you have something like so. And this is the same code that you added here on the bottom right here on the third argument, right? Now, this is how we do the code reproducibility on teal app. So we keep using the teal data object to get the code and to make sure that your analysis is reproducible. And this is including your the plot as well. Actually, we should have tested that. We didn't test that last time. So let's run the plot again. Oh, maybe we didn't add the show R code on this one. Sorry about that. All right, let me stop here. All right, so now we're gonna add the show R code and we're gonna test if it's actually reproducible. And for the show R code, it's very simple because we already have a helper function for this. I provided some vignettes on the top for you to read through and understand how to add this functionality in your custom teal module. But I'm just gonna open this. I'm gonna open the documentation. So it's very easy. We're just gonna include verbatim pop-up UI and server. So this is to create that button, and when it clicks, it shows a model, and that's all it does. But then we're gonna apply some of what we know about teal data object code, and we're just gonna add information into these functions. All right, so here I'm gonna call. I'm just gonna copy this, and we're gonna call the teal widgets providing pop-up UI. It takes a couple stuff here. This is gonna be maybe our code, and then the button label is gonna be show R code, right? And that's it. That's all I need. The type, this is actually a match argument. So if I don't provide anything, it'll just gonna pick the first one, which is gonna be a buttons. And that's all you need for the UI. And then by doing this, you have that buttons, and then it will wait to listen to the server. Okay, don't forget to wrap this into namespace. There we go. All right, so next one, we're gonna make the server side for that. So here, teal widgets, providing pop-up server. So a couple things needed here. The ID is going to be the R code again. The verbatim content, we're going to go over that in a second. Then we have a title. So I'm just going to say code to reproduce your analysis. There we go. All right. So the verbatim content here is actually whatever text that we want to show in the modal. So we know that we want to show this guy. We want to show this guy, right? Whatever in the teal data object. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to show that one, but recall that we have a new teal data object now in our server, so we're going to use that one instead. And again, it's going to be reactive. Now, this will also need to be wrapped in reactive context. Just if the code changes, then we want the modal to show whatever the updated changes are. So let's run this. Okay, so far so good. We still have our histogram. We still have our bin width. So now we have to show our code. So if I click on that, perfect. So it looks like it's grabbing our plot code, and it should be reacting to our changes. So if I change it to ADAE, for example, and if I make it smaller and click show our code, then yes, it becomes ADAE on H and it's 1.55 bin width, which is the same. So good. So now we're able to, if I want to try to reproduce what I'm seeing, I can copy that. Let me exit here. I'll make a new file, and I can run that. And then I'll call my plot. There you go. Perfect. That's it. That's the same with what I've seen before. So this is how reproducibility works in teal frameworks. Okay. Great. So now we have added the button. I'm just going to remove that. I'll restart our session again. So that's done for showing our code. It's very easy to do, just adding UI on a server using our teal widgets function. Okay. How much time I have? Okay, I still have a couple minutes. Okay, let's go through teal reporter. Now, I talked about this a little bit in the beginning. This is the ability for users to add what they like to see into this feature, what we call reporter previewer features, and create a report out of that. So now we're going to add this feature into our teal custom teal modules, right? Or to our teal app. The first thing we need to do is to add a reporter argument in your server module. Just by doing this, just by adding this reporter function here, you have activated a teal features for the reporter, and I'll show you in a bit what that means. Now we have a new tab called Report Previewer. And just by adding that argument, you'll get this. And there's nothing in here yet. We haven't defined any specific way to add stuff into the cart. So we'll do that right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a very simple reporter. So this is what I'm going to use, reporter, simple reporter module. It has UI and server. And let's just follow that. So this is very similar with our teal widget. So I'll call this teal reporter UI, and maybe you'll just call it reporter. Right. So that's done on that part. So what this is going to do is going to create that. It's going to create three buttons: one to add a card, one to download it, and the last one is to remove it. We'll see that in a second. So we added that. Now we just have to do a simple reporter server. Teal reporter, simple reporter server. So what does it mean? So it needs an ID, which is going to be the same reporter ID. It needs a reporter object. Now, we're not going to create a new one. We're just going to reuse the one that we already created by the teal framework. So here is going to be reporter again. The last one is a card function. So this is a function to tell a reporter on what kind of content that you want to add for your card. When they click that plus button, what kind of content that goes for the card. Okay, so if you look at the documentation, this is a function that needs to return a report card instance. Okay, so we know that we need to instantiate this report card class, which is an R6 class, and it has a lot of very useful method. So we're going to apply some of this, but I do have a vignette on the top where I showed you about an extension of this class called a teal report card. Teal report card like so. So teal report card is a child class of the report card that you just saw. And so we have some inheritance methods here. But the reason I like this is because it has some other functionality, append functionality in order to append some other stuff. So we'll venture this in a second, but I'm going to be using the teal report card. So what we're going to do, because card function is a function, right? I'm not going to do an inline statement there. We're just going to do it. I'm going to make a new one. Because it's a function, I'm going to call it a function, put an argument, and this is where I'm going to instantiate my report card. And because it's an R6 class, this is how you do it, right? All right, so now we have a new object here that we can play around. So what are we going to do? We're going to, let's do simple stuff. Let's do append text. So we're going to append text here. Append text is going to be selected data set is, and then we're going to do pull it from our input data sets like so, right? What else can we do? We can append plot. So let's do append plot. And we kind of know already the code to append our plot, which is this one. This is how we pull our plot, and we can do it like that. Okay, so that's the function to add the card. And I'm just going to pass it like so, right? Because this is expecting a function object. All right, let's run this. Okay, so we get some buttons, get some histogram. So I'm going to add some filters. There you go. Maybe I'll change it to biomarker instead. There you go. Now I'm going to click this add card button. So it does something great. USA only. I'm going to add that card. And let's take a look at that report previewer tab. All right, there you go. We get some results. If I open it up, oh, nice. We get some histogram, select the data set, and then you can download it and you'll get all this content in an R Markdown and PNG. But I added a filter, didn't I? I added filter for USA only, and it would have been great if that been shown here too. And how about we want to add some R code down here as well? That would have been great, wouldn't it? So let's do that. Let's add more stuff to our card here. And this is why I like the teal report card, so that it's already being written to kind of accept some specific format. Let's address filter state first. Now, in order to get the filters, what you need to do is you need to come back to this server argument, and we're going to call filter panel API. And this is how you enable your module to get the filters, the filter states. So what is this filter panel API? Let's check it. Let's do browser, and so we can see what this looks like. So browser is always a good techniques to kind of stop your Shiny app and just look around and see what's going on. So it's going to stop. Yep, it's going to stop. Okay, so now let's look around. Let's look what is filter panel API. Okay, so it's an object. It's an R6 class. It has some methods on it. I'll let you read the rest of it, but the one that we interested the most is this get filter state, right? So if I call filter panel API get filter state method, then I get this this object with name pair values like so, right? And this is why it's great to use the teal report card function, because with append filter state, this method, I can just pass this and the function will take care of it and kind of display it in a good way, in a human readable way. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop this. So remove this browser. So we already add the filter panel API. So I'm going to add that filter state after here. I'm just going to say append filter state like so. And the code is going to be this one. Perfect. And then the last thing I said, what I want to add was the source code. So we can do card append source code, right? And we kind of already know how the source code being taken is by getting the source code like this. So I'll just add it like so. Okay. So let's save that. Let's do it again. Let's see what's happening. Did I not do something? Okay, 1 second. Let me restart again. Let's see. I don't think I changed anything on my plot. Oh, there you go. All right. So if I put some filters here, USA only, and if I add USA only like so at the cart, then now there it is. We got the data set, we got the R code, and we got all what we need. Amazing. Okay. It looks like I have 2 more minutes. I'll make this really quick on the last one. If you like the way that we have it in our teal module package, where you have like the left-hand side and the left-hand side is the encoding and the middle one is the layout, then you can easily use our teal widget standard layout. So I'll do this in 1 minute. We're just gonna move things around and make sure that we can make it looks the same on that one. So what we're going to do is going to be teal widgets, standard layout. Oops, I copied too many of them. Okay, so what we're going to do here, this is going to be a function, going to be output, which is what our plot's going to be. There's going to be encoding area, which is the list of tuning what we need to do. And then there's form, it's going to be for that buttons for our show our code. So all I need to do is just going to move things around. So I'll take that out for the output. I'll put it here. For encodings, I think encoding takes a shiny tag. Okay, so I'm just going to wrap this in div, for example. And I'll start encoding the button for reporters. I can go for on the beginning. And then our shiny inputs can go afterward, like so, right? And then finally, we have a buttons. So the buttons can go in the forms, but I think it's required a tag list. So I'm going to do tag list like so. And it looks like this. And then I'll just remove this lines and then run this. Was that 1 minute? Okay.
Yeah.
There it is. Now you have the same look of the like how the way that we wrote our teal modules, our packages, and everything's still working. You still have your show code. Report reviewer still there. Yeah, we didn't touch any of the server area, so everything should be working. All right, so I hope you enjoy this. This is how you create a custom teal module. You can use this for your examples and learning again. And in the presentation, I also provided some links of what I've went through so far. There is a video tutorial that our team and Veda has made, which is amazing. And we have some example apps for Teal Gallery. There's vignettes, all the vignettes that I mentioned in my demo. I put the links of it here just for simplicity for you to kind of read it if you don't want to go through the code. Yep. So hopefully this has been very helpful, and I hope you learned something. It's been enjoyable for me as well preparing this. So I'll turn this over to Nina then. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Donnie. Because I think we're at 10 right now, so I'll quickly wrap up with some updates, probably like within 5 minutes, and then we can leave the rest for questions in that case. So let me share my window. So I think just some updates from our end. So as everybody already aware that teal is on CRAN, we have all of the related packages as well as a selection of module packages available for to download from CRAN. And as you probably have seen within the demo, that teal filter panel is a very widely used feature for teal. And based on our user feedback in the past years, we've redesigned the filter panel and enhanced its customization capabilities as well as its flexibility. We can now allow users to set the different state of their basically customize and then set the state of the of different filters. For example, you can have fixed filters without any interactivity to maintain analysis robustness. And you can also have anchor filters where you can anchor at a certain point and it cannot be removed. And you can mix and match, as well as using customized expression to create your customized filters as well. And as Don mentioned, we have the teal gallery, where it's pretty like self-explanatory. That is a gallery of like teal apps with different themes. It's created within the teal frameworks and has basically a large catalog of all of our teal modules available. And besides showcasing the teal modules that are plugin ready, it also provides the sample code for each example app, so that it can be served as template codes for users to start with. And also, we now allow teal data modules, where it's actually like teal data module creates a Shiny module to help interactively supply or modify your data in the teal app, and then it allows for any code running after the app starts or reload. And recently, we've wrapping up our work with the teal transform module, where, as you can see from the screenshot, basically teal transform module enables the data transformation as a Shiny module. So it gives the ability for the data transformation before passing it into the actual analysis component. And we have been always actively working on teal and improving its new and enhanced features. So we have a lot of upcoming updates. For example, we're working on our UI UX updates to revamp the overall look of teal. We're also enabling the declaration of teal module outputs so that our modules can be more widely adopted across the industry, as well as potentially some bookmarking of the status of the teal app, as well as a lot of more training and guide materials available for our like app users, as well as for our newly developed features as well. And of course, we are continuing on our cross-industry collaboration, such as, for example, right now we're collaborating with J&J to improve the scalability of our currently existing modules across the industry. And it's open for a wider collaboration right now, because we have got acceptance for a Fuse working group on teal enhancements under the Fuse data visualization and open source technology. And we actually we will soon have our kickoff meeting for this wider collaboration. And we also have a constant catch up with a lot of our other collaboration companies. For example, like BI has released their teal module Be Safe, and Sanofi are actually building a teal builder to enable easy generation of teal apps, and they're open to open source in the future. As well as we have ongoing collaboration on GitHub with other pharma companies as well. So we have a video. If you're interested, we have a video on a complete guide to getting started with teal. It's on YouTube. And thanks to our team members, and a special call out to Veda over here. So and also a teal roadmap is on GitHub, so it's open to the public, and you can view what's going on and what are about to come, as well as we are on Pharmaverse. So if you're interested, please definitely feel free to join us on Slack channel. And I will pass the ball to Veda for the questions.
Thank you so much. We do have a few questions that we can ask. In case we don't have enough time for all the questions, you can still join the Slack channel. The Farmer Slack has a teal channel, which you can use to ask any questions that you might have. We have one question from Alexandros. He wanted to know, are there any plans to make teal available as a module that I can embed in my app?
I think that's what we're working right now. I believe if you play around with our the main with our developer branch, I think that's what we're aiming, that you can spin out multiple till apps within encapsulate with a different app. Um, yes, there's a plan. So short answer is yes. Yes.
Great. Melina wanted to know, in your roadmap, do you plan to add to Teal a functionality of dynamic in-app data source selection that contains multiple data sets?
So there's already a way to do this with our teal data module. You can loop into your upload inputs. Actually, if you browse along the GitHub, in teal repo, I think a couple users are already asking this. So if this one is already been implemented, you need to use the teal data module function in order to load multiple data sets for your teal app. Search it up. I think it's called multiple uploads data set or something that we, and then I think I was replying to there. Some other from my team also replied for that. So look into that.
Great. Thank you. There is a question about what if we want to change the way the report looks like when I download it? Is that possible?
No, I think I replied to this.
Okay, I see your reply there.
Yeah, so if it's in the context of teal reporter, the whole idea was, you take a snapshot of what you see on your teal app, and if you click the download in teal reporter and for some reason the report changes, then I guess we kind of lose that whole purpose of reproducibility of matching what you see on the teal app and what you have on your reporter. Ideally, it would have been great if you can change the teal app itself. If you are writing custom teal module, then perhaps apply the changes there. But yeah, so we kind of, I think we're kind of working on this as well. We want to give user more flexibility on how to decorate their outputs, and we have a roadmap for this too. And maybe that's something that you should be look forward into. But as for now, no, we just download it as it is.
Okay. Melina has another question, but I think it boils down to what is the difference between teal modules clinical and teal modules general, because the question goes something like this. Demographic table is available in teal modules clinical. What about teal modules general? Is it also available there?
I think I can take this one. So demographic table is in teal modules clinical because it's one of like standardized analyses that usually occur within clinical trial reporting. And if you want to actually use that, you can directly call it from teal modules clinical. And then basically for all of the available teal modules, you can mix and match and design how you want your teal app to show. And it doesn't really matter like which package that you calling your analysis module from. So basically, what we're not like gonna, we'll probably will not repeat what's already available in one package in another package because user can mix and match.
Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this workshop. This is really some advanced stuff. I'm sure people would rewatch this and create their own Shiny modules in the future. I wanted to quickly mention there is also another event that happens next month. It's the GXP Validation Summit. So, in case you're watching this offline or a recording, all the attendees of Shiny Gathering get 10% off. So that's something that you can avail. Yeah, once again, thank you so much for taking this workshop and thank you so much for attending it.
All right. Thanks, Feda. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Yeah,
See ya.